I am Rebel Kitty, and welcome back to my geekdom. Today, we are going to be offering thoughts, feelings, impressions, lots of feelings on House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 1. Saw it Sunday night. I've watched it at least one other time since then, and I may watch it again tonight, so we'll see. Whoa, hi! So Siggy is here. She wanted to say hello. If you saw the table shake or the camera shake, she jumped up here and was like, I want to say hi to everybody. So here is Siggy, the Viking cat. She wants to say hello. So she's a good girl. She actually watched the episode with me. I'll put her down. But I took notes in the ye old green notebook, so I have recorded thoughts, feelings, impressions in here. So let's get started. So to start off, some general impressions of the episode. I thought it was a smashing way to begin the second season, the very first episode. I mean, they hit it right off the bat, and they kept running all the way toward the end of the episode. It was full of action. It was full of storylines that I wanted to see continue. In some ways, it was gut-wrenching. I cried probably 2 or 3 times during the episode. It was just, I thought personally, an amazing way to start the episode. Yes, there are some things I know and I've seen online, you have too probably, that some people are complaining about. Everybody's welcome and entitled to their own opinion. And if you don't agree with me, that's fine. Put your comments down in the comment section. I want to hear them. I have an open mind. It's okay to discuss and it's okay to disagree on our favorite geekdoms. But still, the way they shot the episode, the cinematography, I thought was just, the storylines I thought was just absolutely fabulous. I think they packed, I'm looking down because I'm looking at my notes. I think they packed a lot in, a tremendous amount in to that very first episode. Love the tapestry intro. Whoever thought of that? I'm sorry, you win the first episode hands down, because having that tapestry intro now, that will allow them to weave more of the storylines, literally and figuratively, together as time goes on. It was interesting to see pieces of that tapestry unfold that referred to the fall of Valyria and the Doom and how the Targaryen family got to Westeros. I really loved seeing that. Interesting seeing scenes from season 1 woven into that tapestry. So I have a feeling as our story unfolds, we'll see different scenes and probably that tapestry grow. But I thought that was a really cool way to change the intro, but thank God they kept the music and the same theme, because that is Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, that music. No matter where you hear it, you know what it is right away. It's like Star Wars, it's like Indiana Jones, Jaws, I could go on and on. The music the second that you hear it. So I thought at the beginning, when we started out at Winterfell, that was cool to see again. That was also cool to see the Wall. We got to see and meet Cregan Stark. A couple of things. I thought he was going to have a beard. Maybe he will as time goes on. I thought Cregan had a beard. Maybe I was wrong. Or maybe the Stark men have to be a certain age before they grow a beard. I don't know. But anyway, him and Jace meeting there at the Wall, talking, kind of foreshadowing some things, I thought was a really powerful way to begin the first episode. Real quick second about Jace's hair. I seriously doubt it grew that much in 2-3 weeks between the last episode of the first season and this episode, but I'm going to overlook that. I think Harry Collett is a wonderful actor, and I think his natural hair, that was his natural hair in this episode, is far better than that poor wig that they made that kid wear season 1. So that was at least a good thing to see, I thought. Once we cut away from Winterfell, we then see Rhaenys fly in on Meleys. into Dragonstone. Her and Daemon have a very interesting exchange. First off, I have to say, mad props to Eve Best. I love her. She's a phenomenal actress. I love Rhaenys. I love her character. Toyed with the idea of maybe doing a Rhaenys cosplay. We'll have to see here how that may unfold in the future. But I love their exchange. I love that. I thought that was a good way to set that up. And also, there's always been that tension there between Daemon and Rhaenys. And I loved her line when he said, well, you'll have to help me patrol the skies, and I command it. And she said, would that you were the king. And I was just like, snap, girl. That was a great comeback. I love that. So, cut from there, and again, consulting my notes, we see Corlys. Steve Toussaint is a phenomenal actor. Love him in this role. He is Corlys Velaryon. Saw him with his ship. Of course, it's being repaired to go back out to sea again. Of course, he is the BC snake. And we've learned in this episode that they have set up a blockade. So they have now blockaded the harbor leading into King's Landing. So that's going to put a pinch on a lot of people. And that will be interesting to see how that plays out. So, love Corlys. I also love the kind of the throwback to him being presented the dagger that he had made for Luke, and just the look on his face, and that, sorrowful, kind of mournful look, and just the look, that feeling that he was able to convey, I thought was very, very powerful. In staying with the Blacks, I want to give an impression of Rhaenyra in this episode. We do see that she is out, of course, looking for the remains of Luke and Arax, and she is looking, she's trying to find closure, she is mourning. She finally happens on some fisher folk. Sorry again about the table shaking. Siggy's running around, being Siggy. And so when she goes down to the beach, she sees that the fishermen have hauled in a piece of Arax and at least some clothing from Luke, and she recognizes them. And I just want to say major hats off to Emma Darcy in this episode. They are a phenomenal actor at their craft. They had one line in this entire episode. The rest was conveyed through looks, through just their body language. I mean, the phenomenal way that they conveyed the hurt, the gut-wrenchingness of Luke's death that Rhaenyra is now feeling and trying to process and trying to come to grips with. Emma Darcy just hit it out of the park. And ironically, they only had one line in the entire episode. And that is when Rhaenyra comes back to Dragonstone after finding the remains. They meet at the table. They're having a war council. Daemon is there. She marches to the front, the head of the table, and says, I want Aemon Targaryen. Very powerful. To which I want to say, girl, I do too, but I don't think we're talking about the same thing. But just phenomenal way to portray this loss, this grief that this mother is feeling, and just phenomenal acting. Amazing, 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 amazing. Now moving over to the Greens, over in King's Landing at the Red Keep. We do see some interesting things right off the bat. Of course, we see Helaena. We see Aegon at first have an exchange. Helaena, she is sitting there sewing, kind of muttering to herself. And Aegon comes in asking where Jaehaerys is, who is his son, who will, in his mind, one day be king. And so they have an exchange, and Helaena tells Aegon that she's afraid, and she's afraid of the rats. And I have to pause here. First off, Thea Saban, who portrays Helaena, phenomenal. Tonkin Clarney, who does Aegon, amazing job. I'll get to him in a second. But Helaena is portrayed as this dreamer. A lot of people said, well, why don't people listen to her? If they did, maybe they'd be a little bit better off, the Greens. I genuinely feel she is feeling some of these things as a dreamer. She's probably trying to warn her husband, her family, about there is danger coming. And as a dreamer, she can see it. There's also been a lot of talk online this week that Helena is probably on the spectrum. She might be somewhat autistic. And so her dealing with things and eventually this tragedy that she will suffer and endure, she just kind of emotionally shuts down. But when we meet them again, she's at least trying to warn Aegon. And I get the impression that everyone around her just kind of pats her on her head and is like, okay, thank you, sweetie, and then just kind of goes on about their day, unfortunately. But also have to say a little bit about Tom Glenn Carney, TGC. I love you. You have done such an amazing job portraying Aegon. We get to see a different side of Aegon in this first episode. We saw kind of the drunken braggart, I don't want to be king the first season. Here we see a different side of Aegon. Here Aegon has more or less embraced his roles, kind of. And also we see him as a father. And I think this is a wonderful turn of how Tom Glenn Carney chose to portray him, seeing this different side. We see him in the throne room dealing with some petitioners about, a man lost some of his sheep in order to feed the dragons. The Smiths are asking for money in order to make more scorpions. And he's trying to be the kind, benevolent ruler that he feels in his heart, at least that's the impression I get, that he wants to be. And so that is a completely different side of Aegon than what we've seen. And I just think that's a really great way to kind of unfold the different layers of these characters. We also see a scene of the Green Council. Aegon, of course, is seated at the table, and Alicent comes in after an interlude with Christian Cole, shall we say. I don't even want to go there. I'm not even going to touch that one. Okay, I know people are up in their feelings about it. I don't even just want to go there. So I'm going to gloss over that, lay off in the comments, or lay into in the comments if you want to about that, but I'm going to leave that one alone for now. But in the council, again, we see Aegon as the dad. We see Aegon trying to be the king, trying to be listening to these petitions. And then, of course, Aemon enters in the room, and Alicent questions why he's there. And Aegon plainly states, well, I've asked him. He flies on patrols on Vhagar, and he is our best sword, and he is my brother, after all, so it makes sense that he is on my council. And I was like, woo. But clearly, Alicent is very upset at Aemon at this point. And I thought that was one missed opportunity of the episode. If you've read the book Fire and Blood that House of the Dragon is based on, there was clearly portrayed in the book, which again, we have to remind ourselves the book was written after the fact, many years in the future, by the Maesters as kind of like a history book. So, some things may or may not have happened how they are portrayed in the book. But just from kind of reading in between the lines of how Alicent acted toward Aemon and thoughts and feelings that Aemon would share with us in a later scene, their relationship is clearly strained at this point. And the missed opportunity of, there was a great scene in the book of basically Alicent laying into Aemon after he gets back and from his flight and the death of Luke and Arax. And, she screams at him, what have you done? You've brought death upon us all. Again, a very powerful scene. At least when I was reading the book, I thought it was extremely powerful. And I was looking forward to that in the episode. And I was kind of disappointed I didn't get to see that. Clearly, yes, there is tension there. And it's kind of a shame because it always seemed like Aemon, love him to death, yo. And Ewan Mitchell, by the way, phenomenal actor. Love him. What an amazing talent. Loved him in The Last Kingdom. he is Aemon Targaryen, in my opinion. But just such a powerful acting presence, and I only think his trajectory is going to continue to grow even after House of Dragon. But it seemed like, Aemon has always been a mama's boy, and his mom has been the one person, literally, besides Vhagar, that was in his corner. And to see that disillusion of the relationship was really sad to see in this episode, but that kind of was expected and kind of had to happen. And it'll be interesting to see how that relationship either continues to digress and unfold and continue to fall apart, or if there's ever reconciliation. We don't know. We'll have to see. Really quick shout out here, as I've said before, I am a cosplayer. I make my own costumes. I sew, I embroider. Want to give mad shout out and props to the costume designers on House of the Dragon. Phenomenal job. They have made pieces that I weep when I think about Rhaenyra's costuming, the leather outfit she rides, when she wears when she rides, to try to find Luke's remains. Just so well done. And the Aegon's throne room, a tunic, which had 2 golden dragons, which I interpreted as a nod to his dragon Sunfire, are embroidered on the tunic, and I like I said, I weep. These were so well made, and just the detail that were put in, the thought that was put into these costumes. Just want to give mad props to the costume designers for the show. Amazing work. One of my other favorite scenes of this episode, and again, favorite's a hard thing because it was so sad, is the scene between Rhaenyra and Jace when he gets back from the Wall and from Winterfell. He comes in, as a young man, a young prince that was sent on a mission. He's trying to report back what he has found, that, the veil is in in Rhaenyra's side, and that Winterfell has come to their side, offering X number of soldiers to her cause. And then they just look at each other and break down. And you have this kind of beautiful yet sad mother and son moment where they're holding each other and crying and mourning the passing and just absolute horrific death of Luke. Coupled that with the funeral scene where, a dragon rider in Westeros, Targaryen, normally it's death by flames. That's normally how a dragon rider passes or exits this world. So they did not have Luke's body to burn, so each member of the family got an item of his, and we see, of course, the cloak that Rhaenyra found on the beach with the remains of Arax and Luke, that she then tosses into the fire and into the flames. I thought this was beautifully shot. This scene showing the mournfulness of Rhaenyra and Jace and that side, that faction. But at the same time, we have Alicent in the High Sept. She is kneeling to pray, and she's lighting candles. And as she is lighting candles, she is saying the names of loved ones who have passed, including her husband, Viserys. And then finally, she looks to the side and sees a small candle. She kind of hesitates a moment, but then lights it and whispers the name of Lucerys Velaryon. So in that moment, you see that at least on Alicent's part, she does still, bear love and feelings toward Rhaenyra that aren't just, we have to win, we have to kill everybody. She does still feel something for her long lost friend. So another scene, of course, I have to talk about involves Aemond in his chambers, and we see him meeting with Christian Cole, and I get the impression that basically they are plotting a war. I don't know if they have Aegon's blessing or if Aemond is simply being Aemond. Don't we love him? And just kind of doing his own thing. He talks about, he sees at the book, and let me try to find my notes here. He talks about his mom, basically words are wind. He says that basically they're all talk. He is a man of action. He wants to take action. He thinks Cole should be marching and leading the vanguard of their forces while he is patrolling the skies on Vhagar, of course, the biggest, baddest dragon in the land. So I get the impression Cole is down with this idea, but then hesitates a little bit because he basically says, we have to run it by the king. And, well, Alicent isn't quite as cool with this plan as what you may think. To which Aemond responds that, she still bears love for our enemy, recognizing the fact that he knows Alicent still feels love for Rhaenyra, and basically calls her a fool. So again, we're seeing the breakdown of that relationship, which is really interesting and powerful to see. And it's going to be interesting, again, to see how they portray that. Is it going to continue to unravel? I don't know. We'll wait and see. Once they have this discussion in a few moments, then Otto Hightower comes in and is basically like, I need to talk to my grandson. So Cole leaves, and Otto then talks to Aemond and basically says, you have to get a grip on your emotions. Basically, your brother can't. Your brother is playing at being king. The novelty is going to wear off soon, but basically you have to be the calm one in the family and get a grip on your emotions, and you're going to be the one basically that's going to help see us through this, because frankly I get the impression thinks Aegon can't do it because Aegon's a little woo, kind of thing. We see him drinking in the throne room with some of his friends, which was a throwback to season 1 Aegon. So Otto is trying to say, Aemond, I get your point, and eventually we are going to fight, but you've got to keep your head about you, basically, because you're one of the only ones on our side that can. So that's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out. Okay, so as the episode moved along, at one point we see the reemergence of Mysaria, or also known as the White Worm. Personally, I've never been a big fan of her character in the book or in the show. And quite frankly, I don't know why they included her in this episode, unless it's setting up for an appearance later on. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I thought her presence in this episode was unnecessary and unneeded. Daemon could have found out the information either from her sent by Raven or clearly from somebody else that could have stowed away on a ship from King's Landing. It didn't have to be her. I just didn't think, her presence was needed. But at any rate, she's the one that kind of gets the ball rolling and sets in motion the plan for Blood and Cheese to go. Again, the episode is called A Son for the Sun. So the Blacks are seeking retribution against the Greens. So Daemon meets with her, gets information, then goes undercover, sneaks around with a little cloak and hood up, but hello, I can still see your white hair, through back to King's Landing to hire these two cutthroats, also known as Blood and Cheese, to sneak into the castle. Plan A was to find our Aemond and off him, because of course they blame him for killing Luke. And then if they can't find him, which they ask themselves, what if we can't find him? And there's a plan B, but we don't hear it articulated. So I got the impression that they were to go in, find Aemon. If they couldn't find Aemon, then make a strike that would hurt the Greens just as much if they would have taken out Aemon. So we see Blood and Cheese. They start sneaking up to the Red Keep. They go in. Quick note, because a lot of talk has been going on about this. They have a dog, or at least Cheese has the dog. I don't know why the dog was included, other than a friend of mine told me that's actually a rat terrier who traditionally have been used to catch rats, so that makes sense. But y'all, why did he have to kick the dog? Okay, I was like, that's so unnecessary and so uncalled for. I don't get it. I guess he uses him to trap rats, and then I guess, does that how he finds his way out? I don't know. We'll see. But at any rate, these two aren't very bright. They're crucial animals, and they're after Aemon, so they're not cool in my opinion. But they enter the castle. They go through the hallways. They go upstairs, and Blood actually turns to Cheese at one point and goes, "Don't you know your way around?" He said, "I do, but in the lower levels, because that's where I normally trap the rats. I don't normally come upstairs to where the royal family lives," which makes sense, right? It's private quarters. So Blood kind of goes off on his own, takes matters into his own hands. They enter through Aemon's room and see Aemon is not there, so they have to go find somebody else. And unfortunately, by the time Blood gets into another room, Cheese has already found Helena and has a knife to her throat. And the poor woman is absolutely just scared and petrified out of her mind. Like I've said before, I'm Team Green, but even if I wasn't, I mean, I would feel for her. To me, I feel like Helena is truly a victim of her circumstance at this point, and unfortunately suffers a very sad fate because of choices her family makes, which I'm sure we'll get into later. But this is just terrifying. I could feel the terror, just abject horror radiating off of Helena in this scene. And basically, Blood and Cheese force her to choose. The babies are laying there, they're twins, and they ask her which one is the son. And at first she offers her necklace, saying it's very costly, which again, a lot of people have questioned that, but it's like, just hold up for a second. Helena is a dreamer, and Helena, again, like I've said, she's probably on the spectrum. So she is dealing with things how she knows the best way to do. So by offering the necklace, she thought maybe offering something of monetary value would make the bad guys go away. It seems logical to me. But then when they threaten her again and force her, she does not articulate. Again, another departure from the book. She simply points at Jaehaerys's bed, and then they proceed to kill the boy. I did not catch it the first time. It was only on my second watch through that I heard the sawing. According to the book, they take off Jaehaerys's head. There is a sound of sawing. If you watch the episode and listen closely, you will hear it. And I think that is what prompted Helena to grab her little girl and flee from the room. Again, she was trying to, emotionally spent and trying to deal things with the best she knew how. She just wanted to get out of there and save the little girl as quickly as she could. And of course, she eventually finds her way into Alicent's room, and there's some activity going on, but I'm not addressing that. But Alicent asked her what's going on, and she said simply, "They killed the boy." So gut-wrenching. So, wrapping up my final thoughts on Season 2, Episode 1 of House of the Dragon. I thought they packed a lot in this episode. It started off with a bang and just did not stop. When it got to the end, I, in fact, screamed at my TV, no, because I wanted more. I wish they had released the first 2 episodes like Disney Plus does a lot, and a lot of the others series do now, where you get the first 2 episodes. Unfortunately, they didn't. They're going to make us wait till every Sunday night, apparently. But I thought there were some really good storylines that they picked up, and there's also some interesting storylines that they kind of planted the seeds for. I think a lot of people are going to pay for things that have happened and are probably about to happen. We all know in Westeros, no good deed or bad deed goes unpunished. And like I've said to many of my friends, don't get attached to any of these people, because they're more than likely all going to die. Of course, I didn't listen in both cases to my own advice. So there you go. Again, George R.R. Martin has a wonderful way of just making just wonderful, compelling characters that you can't help but love and or hate, sometimes at the same time, and just has unfolded this amazing world. And by adding House of the Dragon now, getting the backstory of the Targaryens and why they are the way they are, has been really interesting to see. I cannot wait until Sunday night to see the next episode, and I will have a recap here on my YouTube channel, hopefully the following week. So, did you like this episode? What are your thoughts and feelings? I want to hear them. Pop them in the comments. If you liked it, great. If you didn't like it, that's cool too. Are you team black? Are you team green? Did your alliances switch during this episode? I've heard some people say, oh, I was one team, but maybe I might be leaning toward the other now in both instances. What are your thoughts? And y'all, really, did they have to kick the dog? I mean, come on. And at that, I'm going to leave it at that. If you like this video, please hit me like and give me a thumbs up, or hit the subscribe button, the little bell icon, to see whenever I have a new video that premieres. You can follow me on my Facebook page at RebelKitty Cosplay, and also on Instagram at RebelKitty Cosplay. And also, I've started a TikTok channel, and you can follow me there at RebelKitty's Geekdom. So please check it out when you can, and enjoy your rewatch of House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 1. Until next time.